Hello, friends. Welcome once again to the Christian Inspires Care Foundation Undergraduate Impact Program Mentorship. This is the first module, and in this module, we'll be discussing a very, very important topic that is very beneficial to every other thing that we'll build on in the mentorship program, and it is about purpose. And in this, we're going to understand clarity. We're going to talk about discovering yourself, and also talk about having to gain some clarity about direction you want to go in life. So I want you to stick to this, and I hope you get the very best. And so in this module, we are going to have the lesson 1 now. So as we go ahead with this very first lesson, you'll see why self-discovery is very, very important. Are you ready? Right, let me start by saying this. If you've ever felt confused about your future or unsure of what you're good at, or ever felt like everyone has life all figured out together, while it's like you're still trying to understand yourself, you are not an exception. You're not alone. So when I've gone through that part and you've had time to reflect, time to do the things I'm going to tell you to do today, and that's why they are at the other part of life and themselves, where they understand better who they are and have more clarity about why they're here and what they want to do with their lives, right? And so many people struggle with the path they're working on, their academics, their career path, and so many other things, because they don't have clarity about themselves, not just about what they want to study and all that. And that is why the clarity we're talking about today is clarity about yourself, who you are, who you really are. And that is why we're talking about self-discovery in this very first lesson of the module 1. This very first lesson is not just about understanding your grades, how to do well in your grades, how to do well, how to prepare for your career and all that, which is very important. We're still going to speak to that in other modules of our lesson. But this is about self-discovery, understanding who you are and understanding how you are wired and what makes you, come alive. Because when you understand yourself, you stop drifting and you start making intentional decisions. So the very first thing we're going to look at as we discuss self-discovery is, why does it matter? Why does self-discovery matter? Let me tell you something nobody else really teaches you in school or even anywhere else, unless you're intentional about learning, right? Understanding yourself. You can't build a meaningful future, just on a weak understanding of yourself. Just like knowing that I'm this person, this is my name, or this is where the family I was born into. All those details are very important, but you need to really understand who you are at the core. Many students who are in school choose courses because, one, their parents could have suggested it to them. I want my daughter to be a doctor, or I want my son to be a lawyer, I want to be called Papa Doctor. And that's why they are studying medicine or law or any other degree in school. Or probably because their friends are doing it. So they are like, all my friends are in medical school, and so I want to be there. All my friends are, into media, I want to be there. Or probably it sounds respectable to them, right? The thought of being a doctor, being an engineer, being an on-air person, whatever. And that's why they're in the course they find themselves in while they're in school. Or worse still, it's probably because they just ended up there. The issue with, I applied for this course, I didn't get it, and they threw me into this department, and they're just there coasting, just, okay, let's be in school, right? But very few students pause to ask themselves very important questions about, who they are generally, right? Questions like, what am I naturally good at? Questions like, what kind of problems do I enjoy solving? What kind of environment helps me to thrive? And when you skip those questions, what happens is that you start living your life on default mode instead of design mode. Let me repeat that sentence again. When you miss out asking yourself those questions and answering them, you start living life on default mode instead of design mode. But the most fulfilled people in life or in the world are leaders, creators, innovators, who didn't just stumble into what they are doing, randomly. Yeah, they could try out different things, but as time goes on, they begin to ask themselves questions about who they are. They understand themselves better. That helps them to build their life around the things that resonate more with them. And that's why this week's lesson is very, very, very important. And that's why we are studying that at the very first thing in our mentorship. So now we're going to dive into the 4 pillars of self-discovery, because you're asking, okay, now you've told us why self-discovery is very important, right? So how do I discover myself? Very good question. These are the four things I want you to look through, answer these questions. And these are the lenses I want you to look at your life to help to understand and then define and gain more clarity about yourself, right? Number one is strength. Strength. This is a very core pillar. What do you naturally do well at? Your strengths are not just things that you're good at randomly. They're things that kind of come naturally to you, things that give you energy, instead of draining you, things that make people say, they're really very good at this thing, right? So some people are great at communication, very good communicators, right? You could just pick them up today and say, come and talk about this, and they could go on and talk about it for like an hour, right? They're very good communicators. They keep people engaged. Some people are very good analytical thinkers, so they can think well, analyze things, come up with ideas. Some people are very good at organizing. They could organize events and all that. Some people are very good creatives. They love design, they love artistry and all that. Some people, do well under pressure better than other people, right? So there are a lot of things one person could do well at compared to the other person. And the truth is that you don't succeed just by identifying, okay, I'm not very good at this, I'm very good at that. But you succeed. What helps you to succeed very well in life, people generally, and this is a very known truth, is that when you understand those areas that are your strengths, you build on them, right? You build on them. And that is why I want you to use this week to sit down and ask yourself those questions. Don't worry, you're going to have a workbook that you get alongside this video that will help you to sit through and answer those questions about what am I good at, what am I bad at, what do I naturally do well at. And you find out that when you note those things, that's one way that you're already getting clarity about yourself, right? Number two pillar is interests. What pulls you in? Interests are kind of clues to the things that bring you alive, right? Bring the person, the you in you alive. So you ask yourself questions like, what topics do you naturally gravitate towards? What kind of content do you like watching? Do you like reading about? What problems do you really care about? You hear about this and you're like, I wish I could just solve this problem. What conversations excite you? These are clues. These are not just random things that you're like, I just like this thing and she doesn't like it. These are like signals, and then things that could pull you into more about who you are, right? And what you're called to do generally in life. And so what is the number three pillar? Your personality. How you are wired. People are wired differently. And when you talk about personality, I know there are lots of personality tests that could help you to know, maybe put some words, some definitions to the things what you know about yourself. And we're going to give you one in your workbook to look at and to work with. But think about it. I know you know things like people's temperaments. People are sanguine, people are phlegmatic and melancholic. So some people love just talking. Some people are more pulled towards being reserved, towards being by themselves, right? So ask yourself questions. So how do I really behave? Do I like to more quiet rather? Or do I love to speak up more? Do I love to be out there? Do I love to be inside? Do I love to sit and think through things before acting? Do I love to just some people are just like on default. They just, something comes to mind and they're already acting on it, right? These are also very good clues to help you to define and understand yourself better. All right, so number four pillar is tendencies. How you naturally respond to life, right? So ask yourself questions like, when things get hard, do I push harder or do I recoil? When I fail, do I take time to reflect or do I just avoid it? When I'm unsure about something, how do I react to it? Do I overthink it? Do I just, forget about it? Like, what are the things you tend to do compared to other people, right? So these patterns really, really matter. And you're doing all these things not because you want to judge yourself. I'm not a good person at this. This person is better than me. We are all different. Like I've said earlier, we're all wired differently. God created us differently for different reasons, right? And you identifying what you're better at helps you to know the strengths that you have that will help you to build towards the future that God wants you to fulfill and the purpose He has generally for your life, right? And then when you identify those strengths, it tells you, okay, I'm good at this, I'm good at that, I'm good at the other one. You put all those pieces together and gives you clues to where you do better at, right? What career path you do better at, even with whatever course you're studying. whether you got there by yourself or you got there because your parents wanted you to get there, friends, you just landed there. With all those things together, understanding yourselves helps you to know how to put all those pieces together and know what to make out of it to build the real future that God wants you to build. Do you understand? And I believe that you actually follow through and you do all these things we talked about. So take your time to go through the workbook, engage with all the questions they answer them, and remember to submit your workbook to the mentor so they could look at them as well and as well guide you with other things you need to do. And remember, like I said earlier, this very first lesson is very important to every other thing you're going to learn, because it's like you're building the foundation for other things you're going to learn, you're going to engage with throughout the mentorship. All right, and thank you very much for joining me on the first lesson of this module. Until next time, bye.